So a little while back, one of you asked me to create a proper WinGet guide, and I thought that was a really good idea for a video, because honestly, WinGet is one of the most useful things built right into Windows that most people never even touch. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to use it from the very basics right up to the things I use myself. How to search for apps, how to install them, even in a batch, how to update every app on your PC with a single command, and even save your whole app list and rebuild it on a brand new machine. So don't skip ahead because everything here builds on the basics. Now, if you've never heard of it, WinGet is Microsoft's own package manager for Windows. It's already built into Windows 11 and working on a fresh install, but on Windows 10 it's best to check if it's installed first, and if not, just install it. I already made a full guide on that and you can find it linked in the description below. Now, if you're not sure what a package manager even is, let me explain it simply. Normally, when you want an app, you open your browser, you search for it, you try to find the right official website, you download the installer, and then you click next over and over until it's finally done. A package manager cuts all of that out. You just tell WinGet the name of the app you want, and it goes and fetches it from a trusted source and installs it for you, quietly in the background. If you've ever used Linux with its different package managers, it's the exact same idea, just for Windows. And that trusted source part is a big deal. And honestly, that's a big reason why I like using it. Because when you install something with WinGet, it's not pulling some random file off of a sketchy download site covered in fake download buttons. You're getting the official package from the official source. And WinGet actually has a few different sources it can pull from. There's the main WinGet one, which is a big community maintained repo. There's the Microsoft Store source, and Microsoft even added a separate fonts source recently to install fonts. But it's still early days for that font source. Now, one thing though, not every app is going to be on WinGet. For an app to show up here, the developer has to submit it to that community repository on GitHub, and then resubmit it every single time they put out an update. So there's actually a lot of work going on behind the scenes to keep everything current. So every now and then you'll go looking for something and it just won't be there. And that's completely normal. You can still go and grab those ones the usual way. I'll be honest with you about the one downside for most of you. All of this happens in the terminal, in PowerShell. And let's be real, a lot of Windows users don't live in the terminal. So typing out commands can feel a bit awkward at first. But if you can get past that, WinGet can genuinely save you a ton of time and frustration. And these days, I actually find myself using it a lot more when there's just a single app that I want to install instead of going to a website to download the installer. But don't worry, because if the terminal really isn't your thing, right at the end, I'll show you a couple of apps that give you all of this control with a graphical user interface. Now, before we install anything, let's open up PowerShell. The quickest way is to just right-click on the Start button and then open either Windows Terminal or PowerShell as admin. And if for some reason those don't show up there, you can always just do a search for it instead. Now, a quick word on that as admin part, because it does matter. If you're only searching for apps or checking what's already installed, you honestly don't need admin at all. But the moment you start actually installing, updating, or removing apps, I'd open it as admin. Because a lot of apps install for the whole system, and if you're not running as admin, Windows is going to ask your permission for every single one. And some installs will just fail without it. So because we're installing and updating things in this video, I've opened mine as admin. So with PowerShell open, let's quickly make sure WinGet is actually there. To do that, you can type winget --v for version and then press enter. And if you get a version number back like this, it is installed. You might have to accept some agreements when you type this for the first time, and you can do that by just typing Y for yes and then pressing enter. Now, if for some reason it's not there, or you're getting that WinGet is not recognized error, don't worry. Like I mentioned earlier, I've already made a full separate video just on installing WinGet and fixing it when it's broken, and it's linked in the description of this video. Go and watch that one first and then come back here. For everyone else, let's get started. So let's get started with the thing that you'll do most often, which is searching for an app and installing it. Let's say I want to install the Brave browser. If I type winget space search, space Brave and then hit enter, you'll notice it gives me back a list of results. And for each one, it shows the name, this ID column here, and then the source it came from. So you can see most of these come from the WinGet source, but some are from the Microsoft Store source. Now that ID is the part you really want to pay attention to, because app names can be very similar. And if you install just by the name, WinGet might grab the wrong one or stop and ask you to be more specific. So the safest way is to install using that exact ID. And to do that, I usually type WinGet space install followed by space, and then we need the ID, which you can type too, but I prefer to just highlight it in the results and copy it with Ctrl and C, and then paste it in after WinGet install with Ctrl V or by simply right clicking. So in this case, the whole command is just WinGet install brave.brave, obviously with spaces in between. And going forward, I won't be mentioning the spaces in between the commands anymore. You'll know to add them without me saying it. Now, if you hit enter here to start the install, you might see a prompt to accept the agreements for the package you want to download. But if not, it just starts downloading the official package and installs it for you. And that's Brave installed, without ever opening a browser to download the installer. Now, you'll sometimes see people add --ID and then --exact onto a command like that. And all that really does is force WinGet to match that one exact ID and nothing else. It's handy if you're installing something with a really common name and WinGet keeps coming back with a few different matches, but you don't have to do it. For most apps, just giving WinGet the ID like this is more than enough, and it'll sort it out for you. I'm only pointing it out so you know it's there as an option, not something you're forced to do. And that actually matters in a minute when we start chaining a few installs together into one command. Now, once you've got a few things installed, you can see everything that's installed with WinGet list. And you'll notice it actually shows you almost every app on your system, not just the ones you installed with WinGet, along with their version numbers. And that leads really nicely into what is probably my favorite thing about WinGet of all. Because normally, keeping all of your apps up to date is a real chore, and every app updates on its own, nagging you one at a time. With WinGet, you just type WinGet upgrade, and you'll notice it shows you a neat list of every app that's got an update waiting. And then here's the good part. Instead of updating them one by one, you type WinGet upgrade, then --all, and it goes off and updates every single one of them, back to back, in one go. Now, there's a small catch here that a lot of guides skip over. Some apps show their version as unknown, and by default, those quietly get left behind. So what I always add on is --include unknown, and that tells WinGet to update those ones as well. And if you want the shorter version that the power users use, that whole command is just WinGet upgrade -r-u. Same thing, but a lot less typing. Now, while we're on that upgrade all command, let me show you how to make it run completely on its own. When WinGet installs or updates something, it can stop and ask you to accept an agreement, or the installer itself might pop up. So to keep it all quiet, you can add a few flags onto the end. There's --silent, which runs each installer quietly in the background, then --accept package agreements, and --accept source agreements, so it doesn't stop to ask you to agree to anything, and then --disable interactivity, which basically tells WinGet not to pause for any prompts at all. So the full command ends up being a bit of a mouthful, but you can see it all on screen here. Now the good news is that a couple of these have short versions. --silent, for example, is just -h for short. And those short ones are exactly what the power users lean on, especially once you start chaining commands. String those flags on and WinGet will just work its way down the whole list on its own. The one thing it can't skip though is Windows' own security prompt, that user account control box asking for permission. So it's not 100% hands off, but it's about as close as you'll get. Now there's one more thing around this upgrade command that I really want to show you, because a lot of people can get caught out by this. You remember that WinGet upgrade --all command that updates absolutely everything? Well, sometimes you don't want everything to be updated. Maybe there's an app where you need to stay on a specific version, or a licensed app you'd rather not touch. So what you can do is pin it. You can type WinGet pin add and then the app, and now WinGet will leave that app alone whenever you run upgrade all. And if you want to really lock it down so it won't update at all until you say so, you just add -- blocking onto that. It's a small thing, but it can save you from updating something you weren't ready to update yet. And uninstalling an app is just as simple. You can type WinGet uninstall and then the name or ID. So WinGet uninstall Brave. Now, because Brave installed just for my user and I'm running this in an admin window, you'll notice WinGet won't actually remove it from here, because an admin window is basically running as a different user. So it can't see an app that was installed just for your own account. The fix is really simple though. You just open a normal PowerShell window, not as admin this time, and then run that same uninstall command in there, and it removes it. No problem at all. So the way it works is, you uninstall an app from the same place you installed it. Anything that installed just for your user, you remove from a normal terminal, and anything installed for the whole system, you remove from your admin one. It's actually the one time in this whole video you don't want the admin window. And other than that, WinGet just runs the app's own uninstaller. So it's the same as removing it from settings, just a lot quicker in some cases. And by the way, if you're getting any value out of this video, please do me a favor and hit that like button and consider subscribing to the channel for more content like this. Now let's step it up a bit, because this is where WinGet really starts to save you time. Let's say you're setting up a new PC and you want to install a few apps at once. You don't actually have to run them one by one and sit there wasting time between each one. And you don't need fancy scripting either. With WinGet, you can just list them all in a single install command. So if I type WinGet install, then the 7-zip package ID, then a space, then the Nile soft shell package ID, and remember those silent flags from a moment ago? This is exactly where they earn their keep. You add them once at the end and they apply to the whole batch. So you can kick the whole thing off and walk away while it quietly sets itself up. What you'll notice is that WinGet installs 7-zip first and then goes straight on and installs Nile soft shell, one after the other, all off of that one-liner command I gave it. And you can add as many apps as you like this way. You just keep adding a space and then the next ID. Now, a question I get a lot, and it's actually a very good question, is where do all of these apps get installed to? And the honest answer is that WinGet doesn't really decide that. When you install something, WinGet just runs that app's own installer for you. So where it ends up is really up to the installer itself. Most bigger system-wide apps go into the program files folder like they always would, and some smaller ones installed just for your user tucked away in your app data folder. Now you do get a couple of flags to try and steer this. There's -- scope, where you can ask for either a user install or a machine-wide one, and there's -- location, or -L for short, where you can try to point an app at a specific folder or even a different drive. But here's the important part. Both of those only actually work if that particular app's installer supports it, and plenty of them just ignore it. So you can't reliably force every single app onto, say, your D drive. And that's not really WinGet being difficult, it's just not WinGet's call to make. I know a lot of you have asked me to build that kind of thing into Winhance, and this is exactly why it's not a simple switch to flip. But there's an even smarter way to handle setting up a fresh Windows PC. And this is genuinely one of the most useful WinGet tricks. Let's say you've got your current PC set up exactly how you like it, with all your apps installed. You can tell WinGet to write out a list of everything you've got installed into a single file. You type WinGet export, then -O for output, and then the path where you want that file saved. So I'll just drop it straight into the root of my C drive by typing C:\apps.json. And that little detail's actually worth knowing, because if you only give it a file name on its own, it saves it into whatever folder your terminal happens to be in. So it's much easier to give it a clear path like this. And now you've got this one small file that basically describes your entire app setup. So the next time you get a new PC or you do a clean install of Windows, you don't reinstall everything by hand. You just type WinGet import, then -I for the input file, point it at that same file, and WinGet goes and reinstalls your whole app list for you. one after the other. And here's a really handy part. That file doesn't have to sit on the PC itself. You can pop it onto a USB flash drive, and then when you're setting up a fresh install of Windows, or you're doing a whole bunch of different PCs, you just plug the drive in and point WinGet import at the file right there on the stick. It just needs to be somewhere the PC can get to it. So instead of losing an evening reinstalling everything by hand, it's one command and you just let it run. Now, the one thing people always ask me about that export and import trick, can you point it at local installer files you've already downloaded, so you don't have to download all of the installers every single time you set up a new PC? And it's a fair question, because if you're setting up a lot of PCs, that's a lot of bandwidth to waste. But the honest answer is no. When you run WinGet import, it always goes and downloads each app fresh from the source. It won't install from local files sitting on your USB. Now, WinGet does have a separate download command that can save an app's installer into a folder for you, but import still won't install from those. So if what you really want is to set up a bunch of PCs from local installers that you've already got saved somewhere, you're rather looking at a small PowerShell script or a batch script that just loops through all of the installers inside of that specific folder. And at that point, honestly, it's not a WinGet thing anymore. But if that's a video you'd like to see on setting up a script that can run those installers for you, let me know about that in the comments down below and I'll consider creating that video for you. Now, I know for a lot of you, everything that I've just shown you in the terminal might feel like a bit much, and honestly, I get that. Like I said, not everyone likes to live in PowerShell or the terminal. So the good news is there are apps that give you all of the same power, but with a clickable interface instead of running commands. The main one I'd point you to is called UniGetUI. And it's genuinely brilliant, because it's not just a graphical user interface for WinGet, it actually sits on top of most of the package managers out there. So that's WinGet, Scoop, Chocolatey, NPM, and more, all managed from one place. So it's really a full software manager, where you can search for and install apps, and it's especially good at keeping everything up to date too. And the main thing to understand is that it's literally just running these same types of commands we've been talking about in this video, quietly in the background for you. I've done a full walkthrough of UniGetUI already, so I'll link that video in the description of this video if you want to check it out. And the other one, which some of you will already know, is my own tool, Winhance. Now, Winhance uses WinGet under the hood as its first source, with a fallback to Chocolatey if something isn't on WinGet. But it doesn't use Scoop, at least not at the time of this recording. But I want to be clear about what it's actually for, because it's a different thing to UniGetUI. Winhance isn't trying to be a full software manager. Its external software section is really there to help you get a new PC set up quickly, with the most common apps people actually need from a curated list, rather than managing every single package on your system. So the simple way to think about it is this. If you want an app that can manage all of the software on your PC, UniGetUI is your friend. And if you're setting up a fresh Windows install and you just want the essentials in a couple of clicks, that's where Winhance comes in. But look, even if the terminal really isn't your thing and you never touch any of this again, just remembering those three commands, WinGet install, WinGet upgrade -r-u, and WinGet export will already save you a serious amount of time and hassle the next time you're installing or updating apps on Windows.